and welcome! Today I wanted to make a video about a question that I get quite a lot on both my Instagram and my YouTube and on my email, and that is, do you have any advice for me? I'm a first-time snake owner. Sometimes it can be very difficult for me to answer because that's a very open question. So today I've collected some advice that I myself would have thought to be pretty useful if I had just brought home my first snake. So let's say you've just come home with your new snake. It can be someone like little Ariel here. She's a 3-month-old female ball python. And as a new snake owner, a lot of questions might come into mind within the first week that you have your new snake. So let's get on with the advice. My first advice for you as a new snake owner is observe your snake. Take some time to have a look at it. Both have a look at it during the day when it's mostly just chilling, but especially during the evening and the nighttime. Also when you're having it out and handling, just have a look at how does your snake behave. Is it calm and relaxed, or is it a bit tense, and all that kind of stuff, because nobody knows your snake better than you. So it's really your job as an owner to look at how does your snake behave. Also when feeding, just have a good look at it, observe it, because when you're observing your snake and when you know how they usually behave, that will be a pretty good indicator if something goes wrong, like if the snake becomes ill later on, because you will notice it in how they behave. So advice number 1, observe your snake. My second advice is about feeding, and that is to leave your snake alone at least 1 day, preferably 2 days after they've eaten, so they have time to digest the meal and so on. Plus they can be a little bit defensive once they have some food in their stomach, and if you bother them right after they've eaten, you are in the risk of them throwing up the meal again because they are stressed or because they don't feel safe. Advice number 2, leave your snake alone right after it's eaten for at least once, preferably 2 days. The third advice I want to give you guys is to leave your snake alone during shed. That means when you observe your snake going into this dull color, getting the blue eyes and stuff, leave the snake alone until it has shed. During the cyclus, the snake does get kind of grayish and dull to look at, but then suddenly it's like it gets all its color back, but there's no shed. What you need to do here is just wait a few more days, because then the shed will naturally come off. I tend to say that once I see the dull color and the blue eyes, it's usually give or take a day or two, but 10 days until they do a full shed. A little extra tip for you guys during the shed: it's a really good idea to bump up the humidity just a little by spraying a little bit of water just on top of their hide, not inside or on the snake, but just on top of the hide once a day, to just bump up the humidity a little bit, helping the snake get through the shed a lot easier. I have great success with my snakes and they all shed beautifully, so that's an extra tip. Leave your snake alone during the cycle of shedding. The next advice I have for you guys is to handle your snake. Don't over-handle it, of course. You don't need to take it out 5 times a day, but it's quite okay for you to take it out, I don't know, every second or third day maybe. I usually don't handle my snakes every day, not at all, but you can easily handle your snake a lot, and it's a really good idea, especially if you have like a hatchling or if you have a new snake that's not used to handling, because the snake will get used to you handling and it will tolerate it more. Of course, if you see signs of stress like a feeding strike or stuff like that, just stop for a couple of weeks. But all in all, you should definitely handle your snake so you can get used to it, just a couple of minutes every now and then. The next advice for you guys is to join a reptile group on Facebook. That will give you the option to talk to a lot of people who is in the same situation as you, so you can ask questions without feeling stupid. If you're interested, I do have my own Facebook group here for my subscribers and friends only. In there we do share all of our pictures and our experience, and it's a great place to ask all sorts of questions, and no one is bashing, no one is name calling. So that's my next advice for you guys, is to join some reptile Facebook groups, or you can also join forums on the internet. But definitely go search out some groups so you can share information and ask questions. The next advice I want to give you guys is to buy frozen. Like buy a frozen mice or rat, and then buy like a bunch of them and then put them in the freezer, because that way you will always have food, and you will have food for the next long period of time, so you don't have to worry about going down to the pet store or anything like that. We do store our frozen rats and mice in the freezer as well. When talking about food and feeding, it's also a great advice for you guys to keep like a schedule over when you're feeding and how much, and if the snake takes the food or not. We do it with all of our snakes because we have quite a lot. So we put in how much should they be fed and when have they last been fed, and if they want to take it or not, if we have, and if there were any issues or anything like that. We write it all down because that way we can make sure that they get the food whenever they need. Another advice that I use, and one that has saved not only mine but my snake's life, is that save a little bit of money into a separate account each month, because that way, in case that a terrarium gets broken or a heat mat breaks or you need to go to the vet, you will always have money available. We did that, and that really did save one of our snake, Alistair. He had an illness at one point, and if we had not done this, if we had not saved up the money within the last couple of months, we simply would not have had the money to take him to the vet. I sometimes hear people ask me what they should do. Their snake is sick but they don't have the money for the vet. That's one thing that should never ever happen. You are the owner of the snake, which means that you need to give it the proper care, and if it needs to go to the vet, you will have to bring it to the vet. So definitely save up a little bit of money each month to a separate account in case your snake gets sick, or if the terrarium breaks, or anything like that that has to do with your animal. That way you will always have the money when needed. My next advice is to get a thermometer, a hygrometer, and a timer. These three things are really handy when it comes to making sure that everything is as it should be in your terrarium. The thermometer, of course, measures the heat. Is it warm enough inside your terrarium? The hygrometer measures the humidity, which you also need to make sure is on point. And the timer is something that we use because that can turn on and off the either heating mat or the heat lamp or whatever heating source you're using. We have it on during the day and then we turn it off during the night, so you will have this day and night cycle instead of it just being one constant temperature inside the terrarium all day around. So those three things are something really good to have: thermometer, hygrometer, and a timer. Alright guys, that's all for today. I really do hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any advice yourself, please just put them right down in the comment section. I would absolutely love to hear, and I know more people would love to as well. Please give the video a like so I know that you like what I make. It really does mean a lot to me. And also, while you're at it, just hit subscribe on that channel. That's all for today guys. Thank you and bye bye!